You may not have noticed, but there is a silent movement happening around you, something that does not appear in the news, which is not discussed in corporate corridors or coffee conversations. It is a call that crosses the limits of time, logic, and even religion. An ancient message forgotten by many, but now resurfaces for a clear purpose: to free those who are chained to material difficulties without even knowing the real reason. And if you are listening to it now, understand that it is no coincidence. This message found you because there was a call stored in your name. We are approaching one of the most powerful moments that the spiritual calendar can offer. And it is not a popular superstition nor a conspiracy theory disguised as hope. It is something that intertwines with the history of a man who, throughout his life, has connected to a spiritual dimension where scarcity does not exist. A man who understood that the financial suffering that plagues so many families is not just a consequence of unstable economy or wrong choices. It is often the reflection of deep misalignment with the frequency governing the flow of abundance. This man was Padre Pio. Father Pio was not a common religious. Since childhood in Pietrelcina, Italy, he had already shown a rare connection with the divine. He saw angels, heard heavenly voices, and had visions that seemed to escape human understanding. He would later become known worldwide for stigmas wounds in his hands, feet, and side that mimicked the wounds of Christ, which he carried in silence for 50 years. But beyond physical signs, Padre Pio kept a deep spiritual knowledge, transmitted to him in intimate revelations during his prayers and meetings with beings of light. And among all his visions, there was one that stood out: the revelation of a spiritual ritual capable of opening the channels of true prosperity. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract facilities while others, as much as they try, live stagnant? Perhaps you have already looked in the mirror with tears in your eyes, wondering why everything seems so hard. Why do accounts accumulate even with so much work? Why does hope always seem distant, like a door that closes at the very moment you try to cross it? The answer is not just in methods, nor in secret formulas of success. The answer lies in recognizing that you carry a spiritual identity, and this identity, when not aligned with the source of all abundance, attracts repetition of scarcity, invisible blocks and fruits. This misalignment happens subtly. We grow up listening that money is dirty, that wealth is for the few, that humility is synonymous with scarcity. And without realizing it, we began to reject the blessings that were already in our way. But now, something different is about to happen. A spiritual window is about to open soon, a date that, for the majority, will be just another day on the calendar. But for those who understand their true meaning, it will be the beginning of a deep transformation. A date where the layers between the visible and the invisible become thinner, allowing simple actions taken with intention and faith to alter the course of a lifetime. This revelation was not made to be stored. It has been delivered to be shared with those ready to hear with an open heart. The story I'm about to tell you involves such a simple ritual that it may seem unbelievable, but it is precisely in simplicity that the greatest spiritual secrets often hide. And those who understand this, who prepare with true faith, summer doors to open where there were only walls before. Padre Pio recorded this teaching in reserved writings, stored by 7 keys by his closest disciples. Between prayers and moments of profound contemplation, he stated that certain dates in the calendar carry a special vibration, an energy opening between the worlds, capable of amplifying the most sincere desires and aligning those who seek the frequency of abundance. And among all these dates, one stood out: May 14th. You need to understand, it's neither about superstition nor magic. It is about universal principles that govern the reality in which we live. Water, an element that supports every form of life, is also a vehicle of energy transformation when joined with symbolic elements and activated by words that carry purpose. When our hands touch this consecrated water, a circuit is formed between us and the forces that govern abundance. But this ritual has no value if done mechanically, as if it repeats words without presence. It requires delivery. It requires you to be whole at the time of practice. Because it is not the bay leaf, nor the rice, nor the honey that do the miracle. This is what you activate within you by trusting that something bigger is acting in your favor. Imagine for a moment that your financial life is like a dry land. You have tried to plant, already watered with effort, already waited for something to sprout, but everything is still sterile. And then someone gives him an ancestral seed, accompanied by the exact instruction of how to activate the fertility of the ground that seemed dead. This is what is being delivered now, a seed that needs to be activated with faith in the right day, the right way. And that day is getting closer and closer. There are people who have already experienced the fruits of this practice. Ordinary people, like you, who were tired of trying and failing, who felt small in the face of the demands of life. But they decided to rely on a different path, not an easy way, but a real path. And in performing the ritual, they witnessed changes that could not be explained by logic or luck. They were reunions with opportunities, pardon that opened doors, ideas that generated income, aids that came from where the least expected. The only thing you need to do now is to prepare your spirit. Be aware, because in the next parts I will reveal exactly how to prepare this practice in detail. But first, you need to understand what is at stake. It's not just money, it is about breaking patterns that cross generations. To rewrite your story from a new frequency, the abundance you want so much already exists. It doesn't have to be created, just accessed. And the key to accessing it is in an ancestral gesture, revealed by someone who dedicated his life to intercede for souls who, like his, longed for liberation. In the next few minutes, everything will make sense. And when you apply what is taught, not only will your reality change, but your view of what is possible as well. Padre Pio understood how few the dynamics between spiritual and material. For him, prosperity was not synonymous with accumulation, but of flow. He taught that everything we receive must pass us like a river that nourishes where it plays, and that stagnation, whether of feelings or finances, was a clear sign that something within us needed to be unlocked. Among its revelations, perhaps the most impactful is linked to the power of a ritual with the hands, this sacred instrument we use to create, give, receive, and bless. For years, his disciples have reported inexplicable transformations after following these guidelines. One of the most touching stories is Elisabetta, a seamstress from the interior of Paraná, who, for more than 2 decades, lived in debt, even sewing day and night. Nothing seemed to work. She did plans, invested as little as she had, but something was always happening. A disease in the family, a client who disappeared, an unforeseen event that cancelled everything. She had already given up trying to understand why. Until one night, he saw a video about Padre Pio and this ritual of his hands. "I thought it was one of those promises we listen to on the internet," she said later. "But something in my heart said to me, do it. It costs nothing." She prepared water as she was taught. He gathered the simple elements carefully, put a soft song, and lit a white candle. He washed his hands to the dawn on the 14th, with tears dripping, asking not only for money, but for a fresh start. And it was not a cinematic miracle that happened. An envelope has not appeared with money nor an inheritance. What happened was subtle, but decisive. She says that the following week, 3 old customers called asking for new work. Then it was suitable for sewing the uniforms of an entire school. In less than 2 months, he managed to pay all debts and started saving. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was living. What happened to Elisabetta is no exception. It is the reflection of a spiritual principle in action. And this principle needs only 3 components to function: pure intention, true faith, and coherent action. Father Pio has never taught that faith eliminates effort, but that faith, aligned effort, removes invisible obstacles. Therefore, the ritual of the hands needs to be done consciously. It is not just a physical wash, it is an act of consecration, a delivery, an inner vote that from there you will be a free channel for prosperity to flow, not only for you, but through you. Let's now understand why this simple gesture has so much power. The hands are direct extensions of the energy heart. When you wash your hands with water energized by symbolic elements, you are, in practice, cleaning the resistances that prevent the manifestation of what you want. It's as if you say to the universe, "I'm ready. You can trust me. I'm open and available." And when this arrangement is sincere, the answer is immediate. Not because God awards some and punishes others, but because you finally stopped resisting and began to allow. At this point in the journey, many feel a mixture of excitement and doubt, and it's okay. There is no problem in question. By the way, it's healthy. But it is important to know how to distinguish between the paralyzing doubt and the question that opens ways. If right now you feel something inside yourself, an intuition that says, "That makes sense," then follow. Because faith is not absence of logic. Faith is when logic bends before something greater, which the mind does not yet understand, but the heart already recognizes as truth. The ritual you will know later was transmitted by Padre Pio with this same spirit. He did not want blind followers, but conscious seekers. So he always said, "Don't pray to have more, pray to be ready." And this is exactly what this practice represents. An internal preparation for what heaven has already released, but it can only manifest when there is space within us. And how to open this space? Washing, purifying, consecrating what we have most active, our hands. Maybe you are thinking, but does this fit for me? The answer is yes. It is for everyone who wants to break with scarcity cycles and enter a new time, no matter your religion, your past, your bank balance. The universe does not operate by merit like humans. He responds to the vibration, and if your vibration is aligned with confidence, gratitude, and action, the results will come. And speaking of action, I want to take this moment to make you an important request. If so far this video is playing you in any way, if any part of this message has made sense to your story, then subscribe now on the channel. But not just for habit. Do this as a symbolic gesture, a commitment to the new. By clicking subscribe, you are saying to the universe, "I am ready to learn, grow, share." You can also leave in the comments a powerful phrase that connects with this new phase. It can be something like, "My hands are prepared to create a new destination." Write whatever comes from the heart. What counts here is the intention behind the words. This kind of interaction looks small, but it reverberates, creates a field around us, and strengthens the bond with this community that, like you, also seeks a more conscious, lighter, more prosperous path. This is the type of channel that is not made for hasty crowds, but for souls who want to wake up. So if you feel it represents you, join us. What's more, share this video with someone who needs hope, because sometimes a simple word sent at the right time can rekindle a heart that was almost erased. And now, returning to Padre Pio's wisdom, there is a crucial point that he always emphasized. It is not enough to want to change outside if the interior remains the same. Prosperity does not start in the pocket. It begins in the mind, goes through the heart, and only then reaches the hands. Therefore, when you perform the ritual, it is critical that you are in a state of deep gratitude. Gratitude is the fertile soil where blessings grow. Even if you don't see it yet, even if nothing has changed externally, be grateful, because this is the language that the universe understands. There is a reason why the ritual should be done on a specific day, and we will talk about it in the next block. But first, keep it. Everything changes when you change your frequency. And to change your frequency, you don't need 1,000 things. You just need clarity, faith, and a decision. A decision to leave the automatic. To do something that, though simple, carries centuries of wisdom, a decision that is perhaps the turn of its financial, emotional, and spiritual history. Then I will accurately reveal how to prepare consecrated water, what are the elements used, because each of them was chosen by Padre Pio, and what is the correct way to perform the ritual on the particular day. Every detail has a deep meaning. And when you understand why each step, you will realize that it is not superstition, but a true spiritual technology at the service of transformation. Now that you understand the importance of hands as bridges between the invisible and the material, it is ready to know the practice revealed by Padre Pio in detail. This ritual is not complicated, nor does it require any previous mystical experience. On the contrary, its strength is exactly in the purity of delivery, the simplicity that connects the heavens with the reality we touch every day. As has been said, it is not superstition, but an ancestral wisdom that returns to today as a response to the cry of so many afflicted hearts. Father Pio was clear in his notes. He said that water takes away more than dust. It also takes the weight that the eyes do not see, but the spirit feels. Therefore, the ritual begins precisely with water, the first element that connects the body with the sacred. The water that will be used cannot be contaminated with distracted intentions. It must be filtered or mineral at room temperature and placed in a transparent glass container. The choice of glass is not aesthetic, it is energetic. Glass allows light to pass and amplifies vibrations that are directed to water during preparation time. This water, however, will not be left alone. In it, you will put 3 dry bay leaves. This element carries a powerful symbolic story. The bay leaf, since the oldest times, has been related to victory and spiritual protection. In ancient cultures, warriors and spiritual leaders used bay wreaths as a sign of conquest, not only external but also internal, dominion over themselves. When you add the bay leaf to the water, you are saying, "I'm ready to overcome what locks me inside and out." Then add 7 grains of raw rice. This number 7 has a deep meaning in various spiritual traditions. It represents completeness, cycle, divine order. And rice itself is a symbol of multiplication and abundance. Each grain carries the potential to produce hundreds of others. By placing the rice in the water, you are activating the energy of generation, asking your material life to become fertile, that your ideas find solo where they can flourish, that your gifts will no longer be kept to become abundant harvests. Then add a small spoonful of pure honey. Honey, known as the liquid gold of the gods in so many cultures, represents the sweetness of life, the kind return of what is just. Unlike sugar, honey does not come from a plantation. It is the fruit of the collective effort, meticulous and patient of bees. This is a clear reminder. True prosperity does not come from shortcuts, but from dedication in harmony with the whole. By placing honey in the water, you are asking that the return of your effort will come loaded with lightness, flavor, naturally spreading blessings. And finally, but not least, the touch of olive oil. Olive oil has been used in anointing since time immemorial. It represents blessing, consecration, healing. In sacred texts, kings, prophets, and priests were anointed with oil to assume their purposes before the divine. By putting a few drops of this oil in the water, you are consecrating your hands, your mind, your journey. He is stating, "I am no longer a victim of chance. I choose to walk in alliance with the source of abundance." After gathering all the elements in the glass container, let this preparation stand for at least 3 hours in a calm place where you can receive soft, natural light. It can be close to a window, away from noises, electronics, or interference. During this time, avoid touching the water. Just look at her if desired, with silent intention. You can pray, sing, write. Everything that brings peace to your spirit will be welcome. And when the water is ready, the most important time comes, the act of washing the hands. This should be done on the morning of the 14th, before the sun reaches its highest point. The 14th was not chosen by chance. He marks the birthday of one of the most intense views that Padre Pio had. In prayer, he was visited by a being of light that revealed to him the portals of divine abundance and how they open on specific dates with a unique frequency. And this year, this date coincides with a powerful astral alignment between Jupiter, planet of expansion, and Venus, symbol of values and material fulfillment. Before washing your hands, take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Thank you. Even if you don't see the fruits yet, feel like someone you've received. Gratitude should not be a consequence. It is the key that rotates the door lock. Then shed part of the water over your hands, let it drain slowly between your fingers, and repeat the prayer revealed by Padre Pio, adapted with the words that make sense to you. Here is a suggestion, but feel free to shape it with your own voice. May my hands, by the intercession of Padre Pio, become open channels for the flow of divine abundance. May this water purify what prevents me and strengthen me. Where there is blockages, there is passage. Where there is a shortage, provision. That these hands create, receive, and multiply the good for me and for all. I receive with faith the anointing of true prosperity. Repeat the process 3 times. Do not use towel to dry. Let the water dry alone, like a spiritual seal that remains acting. During this moment, stay silent, or listen to a soft song that brings connection. Avoid distractions, connections, social networks. This is a moment between you and what supports you, a silent pact with the purest part of itself. Some people report that they feel goosebumps, heat in their hands, sudden peace. Others feel nothing at the moment, but witness transformations in the following days. The important thing is not to expect a specific type of response. Spirituality does not fit into molds. Trust that what needs to happen will happen. Sometimes the door opens with a crash, other times with an almost inaudible click. But what matters is that it opens. And remember, there is no problem redoing the ritual in the coming years, but this specific energy window will only open now, with this astrological configuration that will only occur again in almost 2 decades. Enjoy, honor, live this moment with the reverence it deserves, and more than that, with presence. Because, as Padre Pio said, faith manifests itself in the way you honor the invisible while walking through the visible. And after the ritual, a new stage begins, and perhaps this is the most decisive of all. It is the moment when reality begins to reorganize to reflect the change you have caused. Even if the eyes don't see right away, something inside you has already been repositioned. It's like moving the base of a river. The coming waters will no longer follow the same course as before. Father Pio called this process the 3 circles of transformation. And understanding what they represent is essential, not to give up halfway or get lost in unrealistic expectations. The first is the circle of dissolution. He is silent, almost imperceptible at first. You may even feel that nothing happened. But in parallel, forces that previously blocked their way begin to undo. Shelved contracts reappear. Relationships that were cold-warm, debts that seemed priceless find trading paths. It is as if something, which for years was stuck in an invisible tangle, began to unfold. Some people describe this phase as a relief without explanation. Others report intense dreams, sensations of internal cleaning, or simply a peace that had not felt for a long time. A remarkable example of this stage is the story of Marcio, a former application driver in Salvador. He lost everything during the pandemic and began to live in favor with relatives. By chance, he learned of the ritual and decided to perform, even unbelieving. In the first 3 days, nothing happened. But on the 4th day, when visiting an acquaintance he had barely seen for years, she offered him a job as an administrative assistant in a small family business. It wasn't what he dreamed, but it was enough to get Marcio from the bottom of the well. The most curious, he says, is that I was going to her house just to get an old document. She didn't even know I was unemployed. This is the dissolution circle. Remove invisible locks for the flow to happen again. Already the second, known as the circle of attraction, is where everything begins to take shape. Here, what once seemed distant begins to approach. You come to realize synchronicities, unlikely encounters, perfect coincidences, repeated signs. An old project comes to a new life. A forgotten message opens doors. One person says something that arouses an idea that transforms his trajectory. It is at this stage that opportunities arise. But beware, often they come disguised as challenges, and it is up to you to recognize them. Father Pio said that in the spirit world the blessings do not always come with ties and labels. They can come in the form of a no that delivers it from a trap, of an unexpected change that forces you to leave the comfort zone, from a rejection that actually pushes you to where it should be from the beginning. This is why at this stage maintaining clarity is essential. Everything that comes to you carry a message, and if you are aware, you will know how to decipher what is being offered. Let's look at the case of Samara, a young entrepreneur from Mato Grosso. She had invested all her savings into an online store, but sales were stagnant. After performing the ritual, she decided to give the business a last chance. The next day, a known digital influencer of his city spontaneously shared one of his products. This generated a wave of orders that practically exhausted their stock. The most curious? Samara had never made contact with that influencer. She simply saw the ad in a group, bought and decided to publicize. "It was as if the universe wanted to prove that I was on the right track," said Samara. And in fact it was. This is the power of the second circle. When your energy aligns with the flow of abundance, you become magnetic. But it is essential to act. Opportunities come to you, but don't be done alone. The ritual opens the field. You still need to cross it. It is like a bridge that was built between two worlds. Only you can cross it. And then we reach the third and deepest stage, the circle of transmutation. This is the moment when something inside you changes forever. It's no longer about solving a late account or finding a promotion at work. It is about rebuilding your relationship with prosperity. That's when you stop seeing money as a villain or something that is not for me, and begins to understand it as part of the natural flow of life. This is when anxiety gives way to serenity, when the fear of losing is replaced by confidence in receiving. This stage is difficult to describe with words because it plays very deep areas of the soul. For some people, it comes with insights on family standards. They discover that they are repeating stories from parents, grandparents, whole generations who lived in scarcity. For others, it is a call to generosity. They begin to help someone close, donate part of what they have, and realize that the more they give, the more they receive. This is not spiritual romanticism. It is the law of return operating perfectly. This is what happened to Otavio, a doctor from Brasilia who always had a good financial condition but lived for fear of losing everything. He performed the ritual secret, not to mention anyone, and there was no apparent change. Until, weeks later, he realized that his posture had changed. I no longer woke up with a tight chest. He started making decisions more lightly. He stopped accumulating out of fear and started to invest in purpose. The money was still the same, he said, but I was no longer the same, and that made all the difference. This transmutation is the highest point of the journey, because when you change inside, your whole life responds. Your words gain another strength. Their actions become more accurate. Your relationships become, and the universe, like a great mirror, reflects everything you have vibrated. At this point, you may be wondering, what if I do all this and nothing happens? This doubt is legitimate, but allow me to return with a question. What if you do and all change? Because this possibility exists, and it depends, more than any ritual, the willingness to live a new version of yourself. The ritual is a tool, not a guarantee, but when used with consciousness, it becomes a powerful channel of transformation. What Padre Pio left us was not just a practice, it was a reminder that we are part of something larger, that we are not stuck with what we have lived so far, and that each of us has the ability to rewrite its destination from a new inner alignment. The hands you will wash in the ritual are not just parts of your body. They are sacred instruments. With them you can play, create, heal, transform. And now, with faith, they can also attract. Pricing is not just to conquer, it is sustaining. Father Pio taught that attracting abundance requires faith, but keeping it requires protection. The ritual of the hands is not just to open paths, it also seals his energy against everything that drains, sabots, and delayed. Envy, fear, repetitive thoughts. All of this loses strength before an aligned and consecrated spirit. Once you perform the ritual, a new frequency is established. Small signs begin to appear. Invitations, unexpected encounters, simple solutions to old problems. But above all, you feel something different inside you. A lightness, clarity, a peace that no longer depends on the circumstances. And if this message touched your heart, if you lit a light inside you, subscribe now on this channel. Not as any click, but as a commitment to your restart, and share in the comments which part of this message touched you the most. What change do you want to live from today? Here, each story matters. Yours may be the inspiration that someone else was waiting. That Father Pius Gui, may your hands be channels of light, and that on May 14th you start living not only a new time, but a new truth.